Hi everyone, welcome back to our YouTube channel Electro Study. This is lecture series 19 Computer Networks dealing with DHCP. Please do like, share, subscribe and comment. Come, let's go into the video. What is DHCP? DHCP is a dynamic host configuration protocol. So, as the name tells, it dynamically assigns or allots the IP address to whatever device it is connected to a network. What does this DHCP does? As it is dynamically allocating the IP address, see, when you have n number of nodes connected with computers to the network, you cannot manually sit and assign IP address for each and every nodes. Rather, if you have some automatic operation or protocol that has to be followed so that it is all the nodes are assigned with an IP address automatically, then it is useful for us, right? So here the DHCP does the same. There is no manually assigning of IP address. What it does is it dynamically allocates the IP address as and when the nodes are connected to the network. How it assigns an IP address is, it will be sending a request to the DHCP server whenever a node or device is connected to the network. After the node or device is connected to the network, it is configured with the DHCP to connect to the appropriate network. Now, the DHCP server will acknowledge back the client or the device that is connected by providing an IP address. So, this is what your DHCP does. Now, what information your DHCP will give you? The IP address that it assigns dynamically has some piece of information in it. That is, it will give the address of the computer, it will have a prefix value, address of the router, and finally the IP address of the server. It is very simple. When it is connected to a DHCP network, it ensures that it is providing the final server address, IP address of the server. Then the router to which it is connected, the address of the router, and the prefix value to find the address. And obviously the client or the device that is connected to the router, that is the computer address. All these pieces of information will be given by your DHCP, that is dynamic host configuration protocol. Now, after assigning all these IP address, how this DHCP works for assigning all these address? See here, first when a client approaches a router, internet or a server, it is connected through a router. So the client will be allowed to connect to the internet through some router. Now, the client, that is who has connected to the internet, will request an IP address. Okay, after requesting an IP address to the server, the client will broadcast all the information to the server. Now, the server will respond to the client back by giving a request with a IP server address and all other configuration informations like the prefix value, the computer address, router address, and all these must be done within a least time. That is, least time is if it is 10 milliseconds specified. Within that 10 milliseconds, all these requests and acknowledgement should be done and the process should be completed having an assigned IP address. Now, whenever you are using new addresses, what happens is this DHCP client requests the same parameters and the same is done for all sets of policies, right? Now, there is a DHCP message format that is followed. See, this is the message format of the DHCP. What is this OP? OP is nothing but opcode. That is, it is requesting or replying. and this is H type. H type is nothing but hardware type, whether it is Ethernet or whatever hardware we have connected. And this HLEN is nothing but the length of the hardware address. Whatever hardware we have connected, what is the length of the hardware address? Next is hops. Hops or H count we can say. That is the maximum number of hops a packet can travel. And transaction identifier is nothing but it is an integer and it will be set by the client, and it will be same will be repeated by the server. And seconds elapsed is nothing but what the least time I told. Within a particular period of time, a particular process has to be completed. And flags. Flags is nothing but it is a bit that is defining whether the network is unicast, multicast, or whatever it is. And client IP address is nothing but it is set to 0 if the client does not know. If it will be set to an address if client knows the address. And your IP address is nothing but the client IP address sent by the server. Your IP address is nothing but the client's IP address sent by the server. Now the server IP address is nothing but the broadcast IP address if a client doesn't know what is the address. And router IP address is through when a client is connected to a server, obviously there will be a router, so the particular router's IP address. So here you will have client's hardware address which will be 16 bits or bytes, and server host name, what is the name of the server. And the boot file is nothing but it is 128 byte file which holds many extra information that is required for interacting with the client and the server. And this options are nothing but it is a 64 byte field. Options are 64 byte field, and it has a dual purposes. That is, see here you have a tag length and a value. When you specify a value from 1 to 8, your DHCP will perform the respective information that is provided to the server. Say suppose if the value is 1, then it is DHCP discover. So it will discover the client address, server address. If it is 2, it will offer the server or the client with multiple options. DH3 means DHCP request, 4 is DHCP decline, 5 is DHCP acknowledgement, 6 is DHCP negative acknowledgement, and 7 is DHCP release, and 8 is DHCP information. So all these, whenever if you give a value, that particular message will be performed. And see here, you have a handshake signal. For setting up a DHCP operation, there is a particular process that has to be followed. This is the client and this is the server. This is server 1 and 2, whatever it is you can do. Now here you have DHCP discover. So for initializing the state, you have DHCP discover, where in DHCP discover you will have certain information like you will be provided with the transaction ID. So as soon as the initialization state itself, there will be an transaction ID that will be noted, and the source port and the destination port through which the information is transferred, those port names will be specified in advance, and the address of the source and the address of the destination will be available at the initial stage. Now it is sending DHCP discover. It is discovering the server, says either DHCP server 1 or server 2. After discovering, this server will give you an option called DHCP offer. So in this DHCP offer, what happens is the transaction ID along with the least time it will be provided. Within a particular time, the complete process has to be completed with the client address, server address, client's source port, destination port. All the information will be provided when this DHCP offer is given back to the client. After it offers n number of options, it will select any number of options. As I told you here, 1 to 8, it can choose any option. Now after choosing that option, what happens? It is giving a DHCP request to the server. So under DHCP request, it is clear that it is requesting for any one of the information, and that information is passed on to the server, either server 1 or server 2. After this, the server will give a DHCP acknowledgement that is given back to the server. Now, after giving an acknowledgement, it is checked whether it is positive or negative acknowledgement. Positive acknowledgement, the state is completely done within the lease time. Negative acknowledgement, again it starts from the initial state. And there is two state here, bound state and rebinding state. So what happens here is, first initialization, there is a DHCP discover that is given to a selecting option. So DHCP discover message is given to a selecting option. There DHCP offers different offers to the network, and from that some of the offer is selected and that offer is requested through DHCP request, and after request what it happens is it goes to the bound state. That is, here in bound state what happens is the positive acknowledgement or negative acknowledgement will be given. After this bound state, it will be either going to renewing or to the rebinding. When it is given to the renewing, it is said that a DHCP is acknowledged and the lease time is 50% expired. That is, when acknowledgement is received, some information has to be got by the server or the client. So the lease time that is provided, it will be waiting for that to complete. If it is a positive acknowledgement, obviously here only your message will be received and it will be stopped. It will utilize a 50% of your lease time. Even after 50% of lease time, the information is not yet received, then it is sent to rebinding, where 75% or 70% to 75% of the lease time is utilized and the proper request is received, rebinded, and giving back a negative or positive acknowledgement. If acknowledgement is given positively, then the system is completely done with its information. Hope you would have understand this. Thank you so much. Stay tuned.